This video is brought to you by Nebula. Today, the EU Commission set out plans to boost the European arms industry. The US Supreme Court weighs in on whether Trump can appear on the ballot paper, and the WHO Director General discusses the humanitarian situation in hospitals in Gaza. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Tuesday the 5th of March 2024. Today, the EU Commission has set out ambitious plans to boost the European arms industry and shift into war economy mode during Russia's war in Ukraine. It comes as the EU focuses increasingly on defence, amid rising concerns that the bloc is ill-prepared for a potential conflict. The European Industry Commissioner Thierry Breton laid out the proposals for a new European defence industry strategy in Brussels, saying, "We need to change the paradigm and move into war economy mode. This also means that the European defence industry must take more risks with our support. If member countries agree to the plans, it'll mark the end of the EU's post-Cold War peace project that led to a fall in military spending. Specific proposals include ways to encourage EU countries to buy more weapons from European companies, and in turn help these companies to increase production capacity. It's also hoped that the programme will allow European arms firms to compete with their American rivals, with new plans to create a European version of the US Foreign Military Sales Scheme, under which the US helps other governments to buy from US arms companies. It also comes just a few weeks after controversial comments by the US presidential candidate Donald Trump, who said that he would encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want to NATO members that don't meet the 2% GDP defence spending threshold. Breton seemed to allude to this too, saying in the current geopolitical context, Europe must take greater responsibility for its own security. Agreement on the proposals will likely take months, especially given the fact a new European Parliament will be elected in June. The Commission is also expecting some pushback from governments, with the recent feud between France and Germany over whether to send troops to Ukraine showing existing disagreements within the bloc over how to tackle the EU's defence issues. There's more on the way, but be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to make the daily briefing part of your daily routine, or just search for us on your podcast app to listen along. Moving to the US now, where a unanimous United States Supreme Court has handed Donald Trump a judicial victory, affirming his ability to run for president. In a special expedited opinion released Monday, the Supreme Court struck down the state of Colorado's attempt to keep Trump off their presidential election ballot, using Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. In short, this section of the Constitution says that no one who is an officer of the United States and engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution, or has given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, is allowed to hold public office. For its part, Colorado reasoned that Trump's actions on January the 6th constituted engagement in insurrection, leaving him unable to run in the 2024 presidential race. This case hinged on a few questions. Is the president legally an officer of the United States? Did Trump's actions on January the 6th constitute giving aid to insurrection? And who exactly determines if Trump had engaged in insurrection? In their short 13-page opinion, the Supreme Court decided to not address those first two questions, and simply focus on the third. Who is supposed to determine who gets disqualified from office under the 14th Amendment? The court firmly placed that responsibility upon Congress. The court reasoned that since federal offices owe their existence to the people, acting as a whole, no one state has the ability to judge federal election qualifications. So Colorado's actions to keep Trump off the ballot was firmly unconstitutional. To bolster their case, the court also pointed to Section 5 of the 14th Amendment that says Congress has the power to enforce all parts of the 14th Amendment through appropriate legislation. So Congress is responsible for setting up a process to determine who has or has not engaged in insurrection. And everyone agrees on this point, right? Well, not so fast. The three Democratic-appointed justices on the court wrote a separate concurrence to the opinion, stating their dismay at the court's willingness to give this power to Congress. They say that while it's true states do not have the power to kick Trump off the ballot, there's no constitutional basis to say that Congress is the one that does have that power. They point to the fact that the 14th Amendment already permits Congress, by a two-thirds vote, to allow those who support insurrection to hold federal office again. Yet it makes no mention of Congress having the power to bar insurrectionists from office in the first place. This dispute may only be resolved by future cases, meaning the Supreme Court likely has not had its final word on the Constitution's much discussed insurrectionist clause. Moving to Gaza now, where the Director General of the World Health Organization has recently stated that, following a trip to the Al-Auda and Kamal Adwan hospitals in northern Gaza, the organization discovered high levels of malnutrition and children dying of starvation. At the Kamal Adwan hospital in particular, a lack of food reportedly led to the death of 10 children. Additionally, the organisation pointed out that there were serious shortages of fuel, food and medical supplies. At the Kamal Adwan hospital, the WHO stated that the situation is particularly appalling and that one of the buildings there had been destroyed. While the WHO has pointed out that it's delivered 9,500 litres of fuel and essential medical supplies to each of the hospitals, they also stated that civilians, especially children and health staff, need scaled-up help immediately. But the key medicine all of these patients need is peace, or ceasefire. And finally, it's been reported by US think tank Brookings that India has officially eliminated extreme poverty, as defined by the international standard, the $1.9 poverty line. The report cites a sharp decline in the headcount poverty ratio and a stark increase in household consumption, which has grown 2.9% per annum since 2011. The authors point to Modi's policy on redistribution, which has apparently led to strong inclusive growth in India over the last decade. According to Brookings, measures like the National Mission for the Construction of Toilets and attempts to ensure universal access to electricity, cooking fuel and, more recently, piped water are among the policies that saw increased consumption. You can read the full report linked in the description below. If you want to keep learning and expanding your knowledge, then I'd recommend you check out Wendover Productions' brilliant series, The Logistics of X. You likely know Wendover already, but in this series they dive deeper into the logistics and operations behind everything from search and rescue operations to ski resorts and coal mining. One episode I think you'd particularly enjoy is their latest, which gets into the logistics of weapons manufacturing, something that's key to a number of topics we discuss regularly in TLDR videos, and something that directly impacts wars and conflicts all around the world. It's a brilliantly researched and thorough series, and it's exclusively available on our streaming service Nebula. As you likely know, Nebula is the service we built with a bunch of our creator friends, and is the home to tons of smart educational content from all of your favourite creators. The best part is that by signing up, you not only get access to exclusive series like The Logistics of X, Modern Conflicts from Real Life Law, or China Actually from Polymatter, it also directly supports TLDR. That's because when you sign up, you contribute to the budgets of these big budget documentaries and help us grow and expand our ambitions. If you want to get more superb context and support TLDR, then if you sign up using the link below, you can support us directly and get Nebula for 40% off their annual plan. That's less than £2 a month. Thanks for your support and for backing Nebula.